Hey, what's going on? Welcome back to my channel. Today we've got something really exciting to talk about because Hollow Knight Silksong just got a brand new patch, version 1.0.28470. And let me tell you, there's a ton packed into this update. If you've been keeping up with the game since its release, you already know how passionate the community is and how much every little tweak and fix matters. So what I want to do here is just sit down with you, chat it out like we're hanging out, and go through what this patch means, what's changed, what's fixed, and how it might affect the way you play. And I promise you, this one feels like it's setting the stage for an even smoother experience moving forward. So first off, the big picture. This patch isn't one of those minor background things where you barely notice the difference. It's a mixture of technical fixes, gameplay adjustments, and balance changes that directly affect your early and mid-game experience. And let's be honest, Silksong's early game can feel a little punishing at times. A lot of players have been saying the beginning hours felt stacked against them in terms of resource management, boss difficulty, and just the overall curve of progression. It was still fun, but it definitely left some folks struggling harder than they expected. With this patch, Team Cherry clearly heard that feedback and went in to smooth things out without taking away the challenge that makes Hollow Knight so iconic. One of the first things to mention is the bug fixes, because man, some of these issues were frustrating in ways you don't even notice until they happen to you. Take the cloakless state bug after the slab escape sequence, for example. If you've ever had that happen, you know exactly how immersion breaking it felt. Suddenly, your whole flow gets thrown off, and you're standing there like, wait a minute, this doesn't feel right. The patch fixes that. Then you've got those progression blocking issues, like the infestation operation wish not triggering properly later in the game, or the Beast in the Bells sequence breaking if you tried to trigger it at the wrong spot. These are the kinds of things that stop your playthrough cold, and that's always the worst. So it's a relief to know they're cleaning that stuff up. And it's not just the big stuff either. They've been really thorough. Things like fixing float and downbounce glitches, making sure Act 3 courier deliveries work like they're supposed to, even going in and making sure Hornet doesn't appear upside down if you interact with claw mirrors in certain weird conditions. That's the level of detail they're addressing now. It feels like they're combing through every corner of the game to make sure nothing's pulling you out of the experience. Honestly, that attention to detail is what makes me trust that Silksong is going to keep refining itself over time. Now let's talk balance, because this is the part that most of us are going to actually feel immediately when we play. The big one is early game boss tuning. If you fought Moorwing or Sister Splinter, you know those fights can really hit you hard early on. They weren't impossible, but they definitely felt like a sharp spike in difficulty that didn't line up with what you had under your belt at the time. This patch eases those fights just a little, and that makes a huge difference. It's not about making them pushovers, it's about making them feel fairer and less like a brick wall you smack into before you've really built up your toolkit. Then there are the enemies, like sand carvers. These guys had a habit of dishing out damage that felt just a little too punishing, especially if you were still adjusting to their patterns. The patch dials that back so you don't lose a chunk of health faster than you can react. They even made P-pod colliders slightly bigger, which might sound tiny, but it changes how you land hits and how precise your movement feels around them. Small changes like that add up. And this is huge for the economy of the game. Prices have been adjusted at Bellway and Bell bench stations in the mid-game. That's something people have been asking for, because the resource balance could feel a little off. Spending rosaries on travel and benches could stack up in ways that slowed down your progress more than it should have. Now it's just a bit lighter on your wallet, and it helps you keep the flow of exploration and upgrades moving forward. Speaking of rosaries, this patch makes a big change to how you earn them. Relics, psalm cylinders, and courier deliveries are all giving you more rosaries now. That's huge. It feels like they're rebalancing the economy to make sure you don't feel starved all the time, and that's going to change how people approach the mid-game in particular. Before, you'd constantly be thinking, do I have enough to afford this, or should I just grind a bit more? Now you're freer to just explore, engage with the systems, and trust that the game will reward you more consistently. What I really like here is that the patch isn't just about fixing bugs or balancing numbers. It's about smoothing out the flow of the game in a way that keeps players moving. You can tell Team Cherry wants us to spend less time frustrated by little roadblocks and more time immersed in the actual adventure. And honestly, that's exactly the right call for a game like this. But let's also take a moment to talk about what this means long term. because this is patch 1.28470, and it's being rolled out first on PC in the public beta branch on Steam and GOG, with consoles getting the update midweek. That says something about the pace they're setting here. They're testing fixes quickly, putting them in players' hands, and making sure consoles aren't left out for too long. It's a smart way to keep the community engaged across all platforms. And you know how it goes with Hollow Knight fans. We're always dissecting every little update, speculating on what it means for the future. The fact that they're already tweaking early bosses, adjusting the economy, and refining late-game bugs tells me they're in this for the long haul. They want Silksong to feel not just challenging, but polished. That balance between difficulty and fairness is tricky, and it seems like they're listening carefully to feedback to get it right. So, if you're a new player just starting Silksong, this patch is a blessing. It means your first few hours will feel smoother, fairer, and less like you've been thrown into the deep end without a rope. And if you're a veteran who's already played through once or twice, these changes will make your next run feel refreshed. You'll notice fights flow differently, enemies hit in a way that feels tuned, and your rosary count won't constantly have you stressing over benches and travel. For me, personally, the part I'm most excited about is the rosary balance. Because honestly, nothing kills momentum in a Metroidvania faster than feeling like the economy is working against you. Exploration should feel rewarding, not draining, and with these adjustments, it looks like that's the direction we're headed. I've also got to give credit to how they're tackling progression bugs. Nothing's worse than being hyped up for a big story moment or side event, only for it to bug out and lock you out of content. Fixing those specific issues, like the Beast in the Bell's wish not triggering right, shows they're paying attention not just to mechanical balance, but also to narrative flow. That matters, because Silksong is as much about atmosphere and story as it is about combat. And look, we all know how much hype has been surrounding this game for years. Every patch feels like another piece of reassurance that Team Cherry is committed to polishing this gem. This one in particular feels like the start of a series of refinements that will keep shaping Silksong into the experience players have been dreaming about. So yeah, patch 1.0.28470 might not sound like a big milestone number, but it's one of those updates that quietly makes the whole experience better. Fixes, balance, economy adjustments. All the things that add up to make you feel like the game is respecting your time and rewarding your effort. And that's what matters most, right? If you're on PC, you can jump into it now through the public beta branch. And if you're on consoles, don't worry. It's rolling out mid-week. And I'd honestly recommend you check it out as soon as it hits your platform, especially if you've been holding off on another playthrough or maybe even waiting to start your first. This is the kind of patch that can completely change how smooth those first hours feel. Now I'm curious, how many of you have already tried out the patch on PC? Did you notice the boss changes right away? Did the rosary adjustments make your runs feel better? I want to hear your thoughts. Because the cool part about this community is how everyone's experience adds up to a bigger picture. And honestly, that feedback loop between players and Team Cherry seems stronger than ever. So that's patch 1.0.28470 in all its detail. It's not flashy, it's not some massive content drop, but it's the kind of foundational work that keeps Silksong strong and keeps us excited for what's next. And with the way they're rolling this out and listening to feedback, I think we're going to see even more patches like this, steady, meaningful improvements that refine the adventure without losing the challenge and magic that make Hollow Knight special. All right, that's going to do it for today's breakdown. Thanks for hanging out with me and talking through this update. If you're excited to jump back in, let me know down in the comments. And if you're new here, consider subscribing because we're going to keep covering everything Silksong as it evolves. Until next time, keep exploring, keep challenging yourself, and enjoy the ride that Silksong is shaping up to be.